Hello everyone, and welcome to another fun and exciting video. Today we're going to talk about loops. Loops in C++. So what kind of loops do we have? We have a few different options here. Here's some examples. We have a while loop. As the name suggests, it will do something while the condition is true. So you say while, and again, fancy little autocomplete. Let's make a bool. Loop should run equals true. Okay, so let's say loop should run. So as long as this is true, I could say here, this little while loop will just continue to go. So what should we do here? We'll just say something silly for now. Okay. But if we actually run this code, it will go forever. We will demonstrate that. So let's do that. That sounds like fun. Loop demo. Oops, that's CPP. I mean loop. And our fancy shorthand so we can run them both. We'll say dot. There we go. So that compiles and executes if you're not familiar with that command. Okay, so let's hit this. And there we go. I'm in a loop. You can see it's going forever. You don't want that. So Control C here will be your friend. That's that's what you see there. The Control C. That sends a sigint or sig exit signal exit to the program. I forget the actual name, but basically you're saying, hey, stop running that thing. Okay, we don't want that to run. So okay, if you are in an infinite loop, that's a way to break free of that. But you don't really want infinite loops, right? There are cases actually where you would want an infinite loop, like say a game cycle. You'd want it to go forever, and then at some point you break out on purpose so that you can say the game is over, right? So maybe we can use that as an example. Let's say game should end equals false. Something like that, and we'll pretend this is a game loop. I'm in a game loop. And we'll say, how about we do something like this. We'll say life equals 10. So you have 10 life points, like health. And then we'll say life minus minus. So that should print out. We'll say life and life. There we go. And that should print out so we can see the status of our life going on here. We got something fishy. Didn't like it. That was weird. Okay. So life minus minus, so that should decrement our life here, and then we should say if life is, let's just say less than or equal to 0. So if we ran out of life, then we're going to say break. We'll say something else. I'm dead. Oh no. So imagine this is kind of a game cycle, right? So really in a game, of course, you wouldn't want to just continually decrement your life, but for this example, that will do. Okay, so we're going to compile and run. We should see basically 10 iterations, and then I am dead, and it should stop. That's what we expect. Okay, and go. There we go. 10, 9, 8, I'm down. Boom, I'm dead. And then it stopped. So you get the idea, right? So this condition is always true in our case. We're just setting this condition to being true. And then we are breaking. So this is a break condition, right? So what that's saying is break out of the loop. So that's one way to exit the loop, right? Another way to exit the loop would be to say loop should run equals false. Okay, and we should get the same result here. There we go. The same result because we're just setting some condition here so it's checking this condition. Loop should run. Right now it's just set to true. And then here we're just setting that to false. So each iteration it's checking that. And the previous way we were using the break. So we're saying get out of this loop. Don't really worry about how we set it up. I'm just saying something went wrong and I want you to get out of here, right? Okay. So let's change this up a little bit. Let's do it in a different way to show you a continue. All right. So let's say if life is greater than 0, we'll say not dead yet. Not today, death. And we will say, well, continue. And then we will say down here, loop should run equals false. So what's happening here is every iteration we're going through the loop and we're going to say this. We're going to decrement our life, so it's going to go down, and then we're going to check. So if it's still greater than 0, we're going to say not dead yet, and we're going to do a continue. And the continue, if you can guess, brings us right back to the beginning. So the continue means we're not going to go here and here, right? We're not going to run this line. We're going to go right from here back to the top. But if this is a false condition, we won't do this, and then we'll hit here, and then we will stop looping. All right, hopefully that makes sense. Okay, let's see it in action. Not dead yet, not dead yet, and there we go. We are dead. Well, we didn't say we're dead in this iteration, but same thing. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now we're gone. Okay, so that's a continue, right? So very useful. So say we want to loop a bunch of times. In some cases, we want to only do the first part of the loop for whatever reason, and then we want to start over the loop. Okay, that's great. That's a continue. Another case, say something went wrong and we want to stop looping. Doesn't matter if we did the whole loop that we planned on, we just want to bail out. That's a break. And then this is checking the actual condition. So this is like we went through the entire cycle we were anticipating, and then eventually this will be turned off some way. So that's just one of many ways you could do it. Okay, let's go to a do while loop. Okay, so do, and oh, that's weird. Hopefully that's correct. I can't remember the syntax always, so loop should run. Do the same thing here, and we are going to go ahead and get rid of this. Just comment it out here, and we're going to say something. I am in a do while loop. Hooray! Because it's so exciting. All right. So in this case, we'll do the same thing. We'll get loop should run. And this, again, we will, as is, will be an infinite loop. Okay? Uh-oh, looks like something's unhappy. What did we do? Probably our syntax. What did we goof on? What's our syntax problem? Probably some silly mistake. Why did I mess up the syntax? What am I missing? Oh, there we are. Rookie error. Okay, you gotta have your semicolon. Okay, so we're gonna run this, and it's gonna be an infinite loop, which we don't want, but we'll use our handy Control-C, right? So here we go, and there we go. Ah, hooray, 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 we're so excited. Okay, stop that nonsense. Yeah, so that kind of does the same thing as we saw in the original while loop, right? So what's the difference here? Well, the difference is that the do while loop will always do this, no matter what, one time, even if this is set to a false, right? So to show that, we will now set this to false. Okay, so in the previous while loop, just to demonstrate, let's just go ahead and undo this, and you can see this should not run, right? It will go, it will check this, it's false, so it should just skip that entire block, right? So this loop should not run, it should just be ignored. This loop, because it's a do while loop, will do this at least once and then check the condition. So this should just print out one time and then it should stop. Okay? So that's our expectation. Ready? Let's see what we get. And go. What do you know? Look at that. So if we take a look again, we did not see any of this happen, right? Because this condition is false. But on a do while loop, it is true. Right? So what's an example that would make some sense here? How about we do something fun like this? We'll say string name equals Bob. No, let's say it's empty. Okay, and we'll say please enter a name of at least 5 characters. Okay, so then do while name dot length. How do we do that in C++? Always forget these things. Size, length. Yeah, it's length. I was right. I should have went with my instinct. Where the heck are we now? Here. So I'm gonna get rid of this again. Oops. Okay, let's go back down here. Okay, so name dot length is less than 5. Okay, so if we could guess, what are we expecting? We're expecting this to say, hey, please enter your name, because our name is that. So it's going to say that the first time. Then we forgot a step. Oh, I forgot a step. We're going to say cin name. Get the name, okay? And then directly after that, we're going to say, okay, is your name correct? If not, then we're going to continue our loop, and if we get it right, we're going to say hello name. There we go. Pretty straightforward, but you could see now kind of something that would make sense if you're actually going to use this. Like, what would you need this for? But this is kind of an appropriate thing. Okay, so let's say Bob. Oh, please enter your name. Let's say Pam. That's too long. Let's say Bort, another great one. How about Frank? Hello, Frank. Look at that. So the name is at least 5 characters long. There we go. So that works, right? You can kind of get the idea there. So that's a do while loop. Okay. So both of these, they have their own position, their own reason for being used, right? Their own place. In the universe, if you will. This one is for things that you're going to be doing a lot of, and you may not know how many times you want to do them. It's kind of an undefined at the beginning. This one is something like this, where you want to do it at least once, and then you want to kind of do a verification that something happened that you wanted to before you're allowing this thing to continue. Now the next one, the for loop, and before I forget, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that one. The for loop, our great buddy. This is for conditions or situations where you know the amount of times that you have. So let's say we want to do something 10 times, right? So let's say int loop for 10, right? So here we say for, and this is kind of a tricky thing. We're going to say int I. I is convention. I doesn't have a meaning, and sometimes you want to use something that does have a meaning, like say a row or a column here for a variable name. But if you don't really care, I is usually typical. So it usually goes something like I, J, K. But hopefully you're not dealing with that many nested loops like that. In general, having short names like that is not preferred, but in this case, it's convention. Okay, so then we say I is less than loop 4. So we wanted to check this condition on each loop. So when I is less than that, continue. So I is going to start out, oops, forgot that part, I equals 0. And then each time it's going to increment I for us. That's kind of built in. So actually, it's not built in, it's built into here. So there's also plus plus I. And oftentimes you'll see that in C++. Honestly, I'm not quite sure the performance benefits or the difference in the loop, but some do it this way, some do it that way. This is what I'm accustomed to, so that's what I'm going to go with. So the gist is that this should go for the number in loop 4. So if that's 10, it should go 10 times. If this is 20, it should go 20 times. Here, let's print it out. We'll say I am on iteration I. There we go. So then we should see this go up, right? So you're going to say 0, up, up, up. So that's something to note. We're starting on 0, not 1. So you're not actually going to see it up to 10. It should be 0 to 9 because that's 10 times, but we're starting counting at 0. So if you need this I to be that value of 10, right? So you need to account for that. So you're going to want to do a plus 1 here. So this is going to be a 0. So if you wanted to say this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, you would need to do a plus 1. Okay, let's take a look. There we go. And as I said, goes from 0 to 9, but that's 10 times, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? And so just to demonstrate what I was showing or discussing, can't talk, this will give you the proper count, right? There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you get the idea. So essentially, something here would tell you, you know, how many times do we want to do this thing, right? There's other things you can do with this that make more sense. Lots and lots of uses for this, okay? You'll see this quite a bit. But these are the major loops in C++. Then you have other things that we'll discuss, like recursion. That's a little more complicated, but in the beginning, you gotta know the basics, and these loops are part of that foundation. So, okay, hopefully that made sense and was clear enough, and you kind of get an idea of how those loops work. That's all I had to cover for this vid, so I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for stopping by.